Welcome to i-TUTOR Economics NCERT series. We were studying Chapter 7, International Economics, and we had covered till the topic Gains from International Trade. And today we are going to start with a very new topic, that is Terms of Trade. Do you know what is meant by Terms of Trade or TOT? TOT means Terms of Trade. Do you know what is meant by Terms of Trade? Yes, the terms of trade refers to the ratio of price of a country's export to the price of its import. What is meant by TOT? It refers to the ratio of export prices to import prices. Do you know what are the importance of TOT? Okay, I'll tell you one by one. Indicator of gain. It is the indicator of gain. That means if TOT improves, that means export prices are relative to import prices. If TOT improves, the country can buy more imports from the same export, gaining from trade. And if TOT deteriorates, that means export prices fall relative to import prices, then the country loses purchasing power and making trade less beneficial. Okay, then that is the first importance. Second one, it is very important for policy implication. That means governments monitor TOT to design trade policies, subsidies or tariffs to protect domestic interest. Okay, next one, impact on economy. What is meant by that? Yes, the improved TOT leads to higher national income and better balance of payment. And deteriorating TOT may lead to trade deficit and pressure on foreign reserves. So these are the importance of TOT. Do you know what are the factors affecting terms of trade? Okay, tell me what are the factors that is affecting terms of trade? First one, changes in world prices. Okay, that means fluctuations in international prices of goods affect export and import prices. Then, yes, exchange rate movements. What is meant by that? A stronger domestic currency can reduce import prices but may lower competitiveness of exports. Then, next one, protective changes. If a country becomes more efficient in producing exports, export prices may fall or rise depending on global demand. Then, trade policies and tariffs. Export subsidies or import duties can artificially improve or worsen terms of trade. So these are the factors affecting terms of trade. Now what is mean by terms of trade? Let's look at the meaning of TOT. This TOT is the rate at which the goods of one country are exchanged for goods of another country. So what is meant by TOT? It is the rate at which goods of one country are exchanged for goods of another country. It is expressed as the ratio between export prices and import prices, as we have already told. So improvement in TOT occurs when the average price of exports rises relative to average price of import, meaning the country can obtain more imports for the same quantity of exports. So we can write TOT as TOT is equal to price index of export divided by price index of import into 100. Okay, hope you understand. Now what are the key points to remember here? Yes, when there is favorable TOT, when will it occur? It occurs when export prices rise faster than import prices and country gains more from trade, increasing purchasing power. And unfavorable TOT occurs happens when import prices rise faster than export prices and country has to export more to buy the same amount of imports, reducing trade gains. And we have told the factors influencing TOT. What are they? World market price fluctuation, exchange rate changes, then productivity differences, trade policies like tariffs, subsidies and quotas. Hope you understand. Okay, now let's look at another term, that is balance of trade. Do you know what is meant by BOT? We have already told about TOT, that is terms of trade. Now we are going to say about BOT or balance of trade. So balance of trade refers to the difference between the total value of a country's export and imports of goods over a period of time. And remember that only visible items are considered. That is, only physical goods are considered. Visible items are considered while calculating BOT. And this is called visible trade. That means BOT is also called visible trade. Why? Because goods can be physically seen, measured and verified by custom authorities. So balance of trade is always equal to value of export of goods minus value of import of goods. Okay. Now this is called favorable balance of trade. There is favorable balance of trade and unfavorable balance of trade. Do you know what is meant by that? Okay, there are two types of BOT, that is favorable BOT and unfavorable BOT. Favorable BOT is also called trade surplus. It occurs when export is greater than imports. And it indicates the country is earning more from exports than spending on imports. And what is meant by unfavorable BOT? It is also called trade deficit. It occurs when import is greater than export, and it indicates the country is spending more on imports than earning from export. Okay, so what are the importance of BOT? First one, it is an indicator of economic strength. That means that trade surplus shows a strong export capacity. Then it influences currency values. That means persistent trade deficit may weaken the national currency. Then policy decisions. That means it helps government design trade policies, tariffs or incentives for export promotion. So that's all about BOT. We have already learned about TOT, that is terms of trade, and BOT, that is balance of trade. Now we are going to the next term, balance of payment or BOP. Okay. This balance of payment is a comprehensive record of all economic and financial transactions between residents of a country and the rest of the world over a specific period of time. Okay, over a specific period of time. BOP is a systematic record of a country's economic and financial transactions with the rest of the world over a period of time. And it includes not only trade in goods like BOT, but also trade in services, then capital flows, remittances, foreign investments and loans. So while BOT deals only with visible items, BOP covers both visible and invisible trade. That means services, income transfers and so on. So remember that point, BOT only includes visible items, but BOP includes visible and invisible items. Now, what are the components of BOP? What are the components of BOP? Okay, there are current account, capital account and official settlement account. So let's look at it one by one. First one, current account. It records all transactions in goods and services. Then income receipts, then current transfers, and it includes export and import of goods like visible items, then export and import of goods, export and import of services, then income from investments abroad and also remittance from citizens working abroad. Okay, so current account includes export and import of goods, export and import of services, income from investments abroad and remittance from citizens working abroad. And what about this capital good? It records capital transfers and transactions in non-financial assets. Okay, in non-financial assets, and it includes FDI, then portfolio investments, then loan and borrowings from abroad and so on. And what about financial account? It records changes in foreign assets and liabilities of a country, and it includes reserve assets held by the central bank, government and private sector foreign assets and so on. Okay, so what is the main difference between this BOP and BOT? Do you know what is the main difference? Yes, there is only a scope in visible trade in BOT, and in BOP there is visible and invisible trade included. Okay, now in the balance of payment we have credit transactions credit transactions and also debit transactions. Note that in balance of payment we have credit transactions and debit transactions. And this credit transaction means these are inflows of money into the country from abroad, and they increase the foreign exchange reserves of the country. And what are the principal credit items here? Yes, as I have already told you, exports of goods and services, that means when foreigners buy your country's goods or service. Then transfer receipt, that means one-way transaction, gift, remittances, aid service from foreigners and so on. Then borrowing from abroad, that means loans received from foreign government or institutions. Then foreign direct investment, that is investment made by foreigners in domestic businesses. Then sale of official reserve asset or gold to foreign countries or international agencies. In all these things, money is coming into our country, so we are taking it as credit receipt. And what about debit transaction? What is meant by debit transaction? These are outflows of money from the country to other countries, and they reduce the foreign exchange reserves of the country. Okay, and the principal debit items include, what will be included? Imports of goods and services, that means when your country buys from foreigners. Then transfer payments, that is gift, aid or remittances sent abroad. Then lending to foreign countries, that is loan extended to other nations. Then investment by residents in foreign countries, that is such as bonds, foreign stocks or bonds. Then purchase of official reserve asset or gold from foreign countries or international agencies. So the key point to remember are, credit means inflow of money and this is positive for the country, and debit means outflow of money and it is negative for the country. Okay, now we are going to learn about the components in detail. Components of BOP. So the BOP is like a record book of all economic transactions between a country and the rest of the world, and the BOP is organized vertically as credits and debits and horizontally into three main accounts. What are they? Current account, capital account and official reserve account. So the first one, current account. So this account records all international trade in goods and services. It also includes international service transactions like tourism, transportation, royalty fees, licensing fees and so on. And additionally, this unilateral transfers such as foreign aid or gifts are also included. For example, if India export car to Germany, it is recorded as a credit in the current account, and if it pays for importing machinery, it is a debit. So that's about current account. And what is meant by capital account? This account records financial transactions and it mainly deals with direct investments like foreign investors buying Indian companies or vice versa. Then purchases of financial instruments such as bonds and shares are included, and also non-interest bearing demand deposit and gold transactions are also included. For example, when a foreign company invests in building a factory in India, it is recorded as a credit in capital account. Okay, then the last one, official reserve account. Official reserve asset account. This is also called official settlement account. Okay, this is also called official settlement account, and it records movements of international reserves by the government or official agencies. It helps balance any imbalances arising in the current or capital account. And this official reserve assets include gold stock, holdings of foreign currency, then special drawing rights, and also net imposition in IMF. For example, if India sells part of its gold reserves to pay for imports, it is recorded as a debit in this account. So current account includes trade in goods and services plus unilateral transfers. Capital account includes financial investments and movements of capital. Official reserve account includes government held reserves used to correct imbalances. Okay, and think of BOP like a big ledger for a country. Okay, so receipt minus payment is called BOP. So credit means receipts and debit means payments. Credit means money coming into the country and debit means money going out of the country. Okay, now look at this. Credit minus debit. Credit means receipt, debit minus payment is equal to balance. So that is called BOP. Credit minus debit, that is equal to balance. Balance means if suppose debit is greater than credit, what happens? Deficit will occur, that is negative. And if credit is greater than debit, there will be surplus, that is positive. Okay. Now this is called, if BOP is said to be balanced when receipt is equal to payment, it is called BOP equilibrium. When receipt is equal to payment, it is called BOP equilibrium. Okay. Now, if receipt by R by P is equal to 1, that means the country neither loses nor gains net foreign exchange. But if it is not equal, what does this mean? There is BOP disequilibrium, meaning the country has either a deficit or surplus. So BOP disequilibrium is important because persistent deficit can deplete a country's reserve, while persistent surpluses may indicate underconsumption or currency misalignment. So governments and central bank often intervene to correct disequilibrium using policies like adjusting exchange rates, tariffs or capital controls. Okay. Now let's look at favorable BOP and unfavorable BOP. So think of BOP like a personal bank account with the world. So favorable BOP occurs when receipt is greater than payments. That is, if credit is greater than debit, it is called favorable BOP. This means mathematically we can say that R by P greater than 1. So this means more money is coming into the country than going out. So what are the consequences of favorable BOP? Yes, it increases, there is an increase in foreign reserve, stronger currency in the foreign exchange market, then greater capacity to import goods and services, and also to boost investor confidence. And what about unfavorable or adverse BOP? What does this mean? Yes, it occurs when a receipt is less than payment or credit is less than debit. Mathematically we can say that R by P less than 1. This means more money is leaving the country than coming in. And what are the consequences of an unfavorable BOP? Do you know what are the consequences? Yes, depletion of foreign reserves, pressure on the exchange rate, possibly depreciation of the currency. Okay, then difficulty in paying for imports, and also it may require borrowing from abroad or intervention by the central bank. So if a country earns more from export, tourism and foreign investment than it spends on import and foreign obligation, it is like having a positive bank balance, that is favorable BOP. And if the country spends more than it earns from the world, it is like going into overdraft, that is unfavorable BOP. Okay, so this is about favorable BOP and unfavorable BOP. Favorable BOP means credit is greater than debit, and unfavorable BOP means debit is greater than credit. Okay. Now types of BOP disequilibrium. A BOP disequilibrium happens when a country's receipt, that is credit and payments, are not balanced. If credit and debit are not balanced, then there is a BOP disequilibrium. And there are 3 main types of BOP disequilibriums. What are they? Cyclical, secular and structural disequilibrium. So a BOP disequilibrium occurs when a country's receipt and payments are not balanced. And we are going to study it in detail, different reasons for BOP disequilibrium. First one, cyclical disequilibrium. It is different in different countries, go through different phases of business cycle. This cyclical disequilibrium occurs during global depression, world trade shrinks and export falls and BOP suffer. During global prosperity, trade flourishes and BOP may improve. For example, a recession in the US reduced its import from India, affecting India's BOP. Then structural change or structural disequilibrium means this structural disequilibrium happens due to long-term changes in an economy caused by rapid industrialization, okay, and also large-scale investment programs. These developing countries often import more capital goods than they export because their domestic production cannot meet industrial needs. For example, India importing machinery for infrastructure while export growth slowly, and it leads to BOP deficit. And the third one, development expenditure. And that rapid development and economic growth can also create disequilibrium. Less developed country face low income saving and investment, dependence on import for commodities, capital and technology, limited export potential. All this result in a high import intensity causing adverse BOP. For example, India in 1950s, 60s was heavily dependent on imports for development projects, and it led to BOP deficit. Okay, so as I told you earlier, imagine filling a bucket with water. Cyclical disequilibrium is like occasional waves spilling water. Structural disequilibrium is a small hole letting water out slowly, and development expenditure is like using water faster than it's being refilled. Okay, so besides cyclical, structural and development related factors, there are several other reasons why a country, especially a developing country, may face a BOP deficit. What are they? Consumerism, demonstration effect, borrowing, technological backwardness and global politics. So let's look at it one by one. Consumerism. A sharp increase in domestic consumption of goods rises imports. That means higher imports lead to adverse impact on export, and that leads to BOP deficit. For example, rising demand in India for foreign electronics or luxury goods increases import bill. And the second one, demonstration effect. People in UDCs, that is underdeveloped countries, often imitate lifestyles of developed countries, and preference for imported Western style goods grow, and that leads to higher imports and BOP deficit happens. Note that this benefits developed countries whose export increase. And next one, borrowing. So heavy international borrowing can worsen BOP. Why? Because debt repayment includes interest, increases outflow of foreign currencies, and BOP becomes adverse. So many UDCs borrow repeatedly and trapped in a debt cycle. Next one, technological backwardness. That is, countries with outdated technology are unable to utilize their natural resources efficiently. For example, India importing petroleum products despite having solar potential leads to increased imports, and that may lead to trade deficit. And the last one, global politics. That is, these rich countries, that they sometimes manipulate international politics to boost their arms sales. Like conflicts or war force poor countries to buy weapons, and that lead to huge outflow of foreign exchange, and that leads to BOP deficit. For example, regional conflicts forcing UDCs to purchase expensive weapons from developed countries. So these are the different types of, or these are the different causes of BOP disequilibrium. What are they? Cyclical fluctuations, structural changes, development expenditure, consumerism, demonstration effect, borrowing, technology backwardness, and also global politics. Now, what are the measures to correct BOP disequilibrium? Measures to correct BOP disequilibrium. Yes, when a country faces a BOP disequilibrium, there are two broad ways to correct it. What are they? Automatic correction and deliberate measures. Automatic correction, this works without direct intervention by the government. If the market forces of demand and supply are allowed to operate freely, equilibrium will eventually be restored. And under a free exchange rate system, variables like prices, interest rate, income and capital flows automatically adjust to restore balance. So the key mechanism here is price adjustment. This one, price adjustment. That means suppose a country has a BOP deficit. What happens? Money flows out to the surplus country. There is fall in money supply domestically. So deficit country prices falls, and it leads to, and its export become cheaper and more competitive internationally. So import become more expensive, discouraging domestic demand for foreign goods. Okay, in the surplus country, what happens? Money inflow and increase in money supply, rise in domestic prices, and higher prices make export less competitive, and that makes import more attractive and restoring equilibrium. So in short, price movements acts as a self-correcting mechanism in international trade. So that's about price adjustment. And the second one is interest rate adjustment. That is, along with price changes, interest rate also adjusts automatically due to changes in the money supply caused by a BOP deficit or surplus. And how it works? Yes, in a deficit country, there is outflow of foreign exchange that leads to reduction in money supply and interest rate rise. And higher interest rate attracts both domestic and foreign investors to invest in the country. And this inflow of capital helps correct the BOP deficit. And in surplus countries, there is inflow of foreign exchange and increase in money supply, and also interest rate falls. And lower interest rate discourages excessive foreign investment and encourage imports, balancing the surplus. So interest rate adjustment acts as another automatic mechanism to restore equilibrium in BOP. Okay, the third one, income adjustment. Another automatic mechanism to correct BOP disequilibrium is through changes in national income. And how it works? Okay, in a surplus economy or surplus country, a surplus in BOP leads to an inflow of foreign exchange and there is an increase in money supply. And this causes national income to rise as there is more spending power in the economy. So higher income leads to more imports and reduces surplus. In a deficit country, conversely, a deficit may reduce national income, lowering imports and helping restore equilibrium. So, income adjustment automatically encourages imports in surplus countries and reduce imports in deficit countries, helping balance international payments. Okay. So, now correction of BOP disequilibrium. So when a country faces BOP disequilibrium, it needs to restore equilibrium, and the methods can be divided into automatic correction and deliberate measures. And automatic correction, this works without government intervention and relies on market forces of demand and supply of foreign exchange. And the key methods here are price adjustment, interest rate adjustment and income adjustment. And the trade measures are, it focuses on altering imports and export to correct BOP. It includes both export promotion and import control. Export promotion and import control. So export promotion, abolition or reduction of duties, that is to make cheaper, export cheaper. Then export subsidies. Government provides financial support to exports. Then exports incentives, that is tax exemptions, special finance or other benefits to encourage export. And what are the import control? First one, import duties. There are taxes on imported goods to reduce import demands. Import quotas, that is limit on quantity of goods that can be imported. Then import prohibition, that is complete ban on some goods to reduce imports drastically. So these are the import control measures. So these are the trade measures. And what about deliberate measures? These are international actions by the government or central bank to correct BOP, and they include monetary measures and monetary contractions and devaluation or revaluation and so on. So let's look at it one by one. So now capital flows. When a country faces BOP disequilibrium, one of the main forces that help restore equilibrium is capital flows. How it works? Interest rate change. That means in a BOP deficit country, the central bank may raise interest rate, and higher interest rate make the country more attractive to foreign investors because they can earn better returns on investment. And then capital inflow. That means investors from surplus countries move their capital to the deficit country to take advantage of a higher interest rate. And this brings in foreign exchange, which increase the reserve of deficit countries, and also restoring BOP equilibrium. The inflow of capital helps the deficit countries pay for imports, repay debts and stabilize its currency. Meanwhile, surplus countries experience capital outflow which can reduce their BOP surplus slightly. So, money moves where it earns the most. Interest rate difference between countries naturally trigger capital movement that helps the balance of payment. Now, what are the deliberate measures to correct BOP? What are the deliberate measures to correct BOP? When an automatic adjustment like price, income or interest rate changes that aren't enough, a country can take deliberate policy measures. These are planned intervention by the government or central bank to restore BOP equilibrium. So deliberate measures are broadly classified into monetary measures, trade measures, and miscellaneous measures. So let's look at it one by one. Monetary measures. So these involve actions related to money supply, currency and exchange rates, and examples included are monetary contractions or expansion, devaluation or revaluation, and also exchange control. Okay. So this monetary contraction or expansion means reducing money supply to control import or increasing money supply to boost export. So reducing money supply to control import is called contraction, or increasing money supply to boost export is called expansion. Then revaluation or devaluation. Devaluation means lowering the value of domestic currency makes export cheaper and import expensive, thereby improving BOP. And revaluation means raising the value of domestic currency, sometimes used by surplus countries to reduce excessive exports. Okay, then what is meant by exchange control? Government may regulate foreign exchange, controlling how much currency can be bought or sold internationally. Okay, so these are the monetary measures. Now what about trade measures? So these involve regulating imports and exports. Okay, and examples included are export promotion, export promotion and import control. So export promotion means abolishing or reduction of duties on exports. So export subsidies or incentives to encourage domestic goods being sold abroad. And what about import control? Imposing import duties, quotas or prohibition to reduce imports and conserve foreign exchange. So it is called import control. And what about miscellaneous measures? Other policies aimed at improving BOP, such as foreign loans, incentives for foreign investment, tourism development, incentives for remittances for encouraging citizens working abroad to send money back. Then import substitution. Import substitution means promoting domestic production of goods that were previously imported to reduce import dependency. So deliberate measures are proactive measures taken by the government or central bank to directly influence BOP, unlike automatic adjustment which occur naturally through market forces. Okay, so we have already talked about the monetary measures and why it was used. When domestic prices are high, import increases and export decreases, and controlling credit reduces money circulation, which lowers domestic prices. And the effects on BOP where lower prices make export cheaper, thereby boosting export. Higher prices initially discourage imports, thereby reducing import expenditure. And overall, it helps correct an adverse BOP. So over controlling credit can also reduce investment and production, potentially causing confusion and unintended economic slowdown. This happens in India during the 2010s. Okay, then devaluation, we told that a deliberate reduction in the official value of domestic currency compared to foreign currency. That is, for example, if ₹1 was previously equal to $0.014, that is ₹70 per US, after devaluation it becomes ₹80 per US dollar, meaning the rupee is weaker. And why it is used? To correct a fundamental disequilibrium in BOP. And what are the effects on BOP here? Export becomes cheaper for foreigners and thereby an increase in export. Then import become expensive for domestic consumers, thereby reducing import expenditure and helps to restore BOP equilibrium. In short, monetary contraction focuses on controlling prices and credit, and devaluation focuses on making export cheaper and import costlier to balance trade. Then we have told about exchange control. Exchange control is when the government or central bank intervenes directly in the foreign exchange market to manage BOP. And how it works? The government takes control of country's foreign exchange reserve. Exporters who earn foreign currency are required to surrender their foreign earnings to the central bank or government in exchange of domestic currency, and also the government then decides how the foreign currency will be used, especially for imports. And the purposes here are to control imports when a country is facing a BOP deficit, and to ensure essential goods get foreign currency first, then to prevent overspending on foreign goods that may worsen the trade deficit. And what are the challenges here? Excessive import control can lead to smuggling and illegal trade. For example, Reports of gold smuggling into India show how strict import restrictions can sometimes backfire. And also, exchange control is less common in modern India because liberalization and free trade policies favor a more flexible forex system. Okay, then we talked about trade measures. So trade measures are deliberate government actions to improve the BOP by promoting export and controlling imports. We told about export promotion, that is, the goal is to make domestic goods more competitive abroad and increase foreign earnings. And the methods included are reducing or abolishing export duties that makes exported goods cheaper for foreign buyers. Then providing export subsidies, that is, government gives financial support to exporters to reduce their cost of production. Then encouraging export production by giving monetary, fiscal and institutional incentives. That is, monetary incentives. Monetary incentives means low interest loans for exporters. Fiscal incentive, tax breaks on export earning. Fiscal or institutional incentives, export processing zones, or logical support. So there is a trade-off here. Domestic consumers and local industries might face higher prices or shortages because resources are diverted to export. Then we talked about import control. The goal is to reduce import spending and protect the BOP. And the methods used here are imposing or enhancing import duties, that is, make imported goods more expensive, thereby reducing demand. Then import quotas, that is, they limit the quantity of certain goods that can be imported. Then licensing and even prohibiting imports. Some non-essential items may be banned entirely. And the trade-off or challenge here is that it restricting imports too much can lead to smuggling, and consumers may face fewer choices and higher prices. Okay, then we have told about miscellaneous measures. These are the additional steps a country can take to improve BOP beyond the usual monetary and trade measures. And it includes foreign loans, like borrowing from other countries or international financial institutions provides temporary relief for a BOP deficit, and it helps finance import or development projects without immediately depleting foreign reserves. And the caution here is heavy borrowing increases future debt repayment obligation, and it also include interest. Then another measure is encouraging foreign investment. That is, attracting foreign direct investment or portfolio investment brings capital inflows. It helps build industries, create jobs, and improve BOP by increasing foreign currency reserves. For example, foreign companies setting up factories in India. Then development of tourism to attract foreign tourists, that is, promoting tourism brings foreign currency directly into the country, and tourists spend money on hotels, transport, shopping, etc., and thereby improving the current account of BOP. Then incentives for inward remittances, and it encourages citizens working abroad to send money home, and measures can include better banking facilities or lower transaction cost, and it increases foreign currency reserves. Then import substitution, that is, producing domestically what is otherwise imported, and it reduces outflow of foreign currency. For example, manufacturing electronics or clothing locally instead of importing. So it promotes domestic industries and employment. In simple terms, we can say that miscellaneous measures are ways to bring foreign money in or reduce foreign money out without relying directly on export or import restrictions. They complement monetary and trade measures for a stronger and more sustainable BOP position. Okay, so in this class we had covered about BOP disequilibrium, and the measures to correct BOP disequilibrium. Hope you understand. Thanks for watching. We can continue the rest in the next class. Okay, for more related contents, do like, share and subscribe.